All right, everyone. Mother Jones actually doing some decent reporting here, talking about electronic voting and how they rigged up a bunch of voting machines, and then every single one of them was successfully hacked in testing. And I was thinking to myself, considering the fact that we know, people are always talking about what we don't know in regards to like election interference. Well, maybe a foreign state will interfere with ads or propaganda. Maybe somebody will fudge some paper ballots. Maybe some dead people will vote. Illegal immigrants will vote. They'll show up. They don't have a voter ID, and so somehow they'll get a ballot. We're always talking about all those what-if situations, but we're never talking about the elephant in the room with regards to voting integrity, which is that electronic voting machines can and have been hacked. We know that it can happen. It's not even particularly difficult, and yet most states use electronic ballots at this point. They use electronic voting. Now, Vermont doesn't. We have paper ballots. The only electronic component is the little thing that you feed the paper into afterwards, and it collates, and then it tells, I guess, the people when it's full so that they can switch it out for the next one. Other than that, it's all manual. It's paper and pen. That's how it should be across the country. Trust me, there's no legitimate reason in any situation, urban, suburban, rural, it doesn't matter. There is no situation in which paper ballot voting is not perfectly acceptable and considerably safer for our republic. I suggest that a constitutional amendment should ban electronic voting. What were to happen? Arguing worst case scenario here. What were to happen if on election day there were a solar flare that knocked out half of the voting machines? Just saying. What happens if a massive hack occurs of a bunch of voting machines and all of a sudden you're plunged into chaos as you don't know the results of 2 or 3 states for months later in a close election? These are scenarios we have to worry about, and we're subjecting ourselves to them. There's no legitimate reason for those scenarios to ever happen. No foreign state has the ability to come in and fudge enough paper ballots if we had paper ballots only to actually swing an election. It could never happen. It's a lot different when you have a physical object there that can be checked thereafter. It's a little bit different than someone touched a number, the fucking touched buttons on a screen. We have continuous glitches too with these machines. You'd think that it'd be easy because the machine is single purpose. It's not like the computer here. It has to be able to make videos. It has to be able to edit pictures. It has to be able to connect to the internet and enable me to do all the things I need to do on the internet. These computers here that I'm using, they have a million different applications that they have to perform properly in order for them to be useful. A voting machine, you have to be able to press a button and it tallies the result. And that's really just about it. Not that difficult. Should be straightforward. They can't even get that right. Election after election, at the last election, on election night, I saw people were fronting me, and I can't even imagine how it's going to be on this one, because this isn't even a midterms. This is a true general presidential election. Rapid fire, people are going to be DMing me videos from all around the country of voting machines malfunctioning, where they press one button and it selects the other, where they can't press anything, where the voting machine conked out and so there are long lines at the polling station, and a million other things. This will happen. I will get tips about all of these things. It will be reported on locally and at state level. It'll become national news in a more general sense without Congress ever getting up off its ass and doing anything. But the solution is so immaculately simple, and it's cheaper. Paper ballots. A bunch of states already have banned electronic voting. We don't do electronic voting here. It works for us. Dude, Vermont is the mean median in the mode when it comes to population density, by the way. Never knew this, by the way. Vermont is actually, I think, 25th exactly when it comes to population density. I mean, we don't have big cities, but we also, for the most part, people are conglomerated in towns here. You do realize most people don't live out in the middle of the foothills. Most of them are rich tourists. They have second homes here. By the way, tax the second homes. Problem solved with our tax problem. But the rich people will go to New Hampshire instead. Well, you don't want rich people in this state natively because you keep taxing them too much, so I don't see what the difference is. Fuck them, we'll take their New York money and their Florida money instead. No offense to my subscribers in these places, but, Vermont is for Vermonters. There aren't many of us left. Technically, I was born in New Hampshire, so I don't know. Do I even count? I think it's basically New Hampshire, the libertarian Vermont. New Hampshire, birthplace of G.G. Allen. Wonderful state. Wouldn't mind moving there, actually. It's slightly warmer if you're near the ocean. Sometimes of year, anyway. Go to Hampton Beach. Make sure to check out Ray's Seafood, by the way. Shout out to Ray's Seafood. Excellent seafood chowder. Highly recommended. I don't know, I'm off on a tangent, but I mean, come on, this is a funny topic. It's funny because you've got a problem. You've got a significant problem. You've got an extremely easy solution. And yet you've apparently got no will at all to tackle it. When we're talking about dead people voting, people on the voter registry that aren't alive anymore, when we're talking about voter ID and voter fraud, illegals voting, election integrity as figured by foreign state actors or something, we're talking about a bunch of what ifs and often hyperbolic bullshit, and we're talking about politically partisan topics in some cases. The right tends to favor voter ID. The left tends to favor, no, we don't need that. It's Russia's the problem because they've devolved into the Cold War again, which is fun. I want more Cold War movies and music and style, okay? If you bring that back, you can have your Mo Russia bullshit left. Bring back the Reagan era or something. I want to go out in a white suit and go to the shopping mall and it's not dead. Revive 1980 all over again, and then we can talk, especially musically. But this is a nonpartisan issue. We know that these machines don't work. We've got evidence of it. I can show you a million video clips of these machines not working. And that's just normal glitches. Imagine if something major goes wrong. Oh, the manufacturer accidentally included a vulnerability here and it got exploited through a Wi-Fi network or something. Somebody plugged a USB into the back of it and fucked up all of Illinois' voting machines. We can't hold the vote today. Sorry. We can't participate in the election. What even happens if that occurs? What if an entire state's voting apparatus, or 2 or 3 states, gets knocked out on voting, and so you don't even know who the president is? For what ends up happening? Do they hold the vote on a different day? Do you declare martial law? Do you redo the election? What even fucking happens? What contingency is even there? It's unprecedented, but it will eventually happen. There was no foreign election interference, for instance, in 2016. It was claimed up and down, well, Russia this, Russia that. It never happened. Some Russian troll groups bought some Facebook ads. It's basically the sum and substance of what they accomplished. If they swang more than a 2-digit total of people's votes through this, I'd be very, very surprised. So that's supposedly a problem. Dead people voting is supposedly a problem. The liberals deny that up and down. They say, well, no, that never happens. There's no such thing as voter fraud. Oh, you have voter intimidation. Now, I can remember, by the way, Black Panthers at the polling sites back in 2012, if I remember correctly. That was quite funny. Don't worry, we're just guarding people. We're making sure that they vote the right way. But this, which we know is a problem, we know that the machines are vulnerable. We know that they're glitchy. We know that they have been hacked in some cases, at least on a limited basis, and yet nobody wants to do anything about it. It's mankind's tendency to just fucking ignore actual problems and fritter away time on things that are distracting. I guess that the politically partisan issue of a voter ID is just more distracting to people, liberal or conservative, so that they'll just fucking ignore the fact that these electronic machines that are inefficient anyway don't work half the time. If they had electronic voting in this state, I'd be very, very upset. I'd be more reluctant, by the way, to vote because I'd say, well, I don't even know. I can't actually see the ballot in front of me. I don't know whether it's tallying my vote. It could be tallying the opposite. How the hell do I know? Unless they're going to show me the programming involved, let me analyze it with a couple of people that know more about computers than I obviously do. Unless I can do that, I can't even tell what I'm voting for. All I do is I trust this screen. It tells me what supposedly I'm clicking. But with a paper ballot, I can see Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Mickey Mouse. I can check it off myself. Remember the Florida election of 2000? Imagine that on steroids. That's what would happen if someone actually managed to fuck with the electronic voting system. And someday, some script kiddie with a drone and a USB drive will probably figure it out. It won't even be it won't be Russia or China or something. It'll be some random hacker. It'll be someone who's doing it just for the lulz. It'll be some super troll. Someone who has a 4chan gold account, so to speak. That's about all. Peace out.